Ski, you've had a long career of over 2 decades in the cybersecurity industry. How has the role of CISO evolved over time?
I think the role of CISO had a exponential shift because CISO as a role was always considered to be just backseat role, more of a technology enabler. Okay, this role is required to meet the controls and stuff. Over a period of time, as the threat landscape evolved, now CISOs are being considered in the board, in the table as a business enabler, and also security is also being considered as one of the avenues for enabling or influencing revenue. That's in simple terms. So more than just a gatekeeper or a control implementer, now I think there is a different profile, business enabler, and that's the evolution or shift that I see. Right from safeguarding and just meeting the controls, now I think CISOs have a direct or indirect influence on the overall company's growth and revenue. They are contributing to the overall growth across all departments. So that's
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our next session of Cyber Safe Tech Talk series. Today, we have with us Senthil Kumar Iyyappan, widely known as Ski, who is a seasoned cybersecurity professional, Chief Information Security Officer, and prominent leader in the cybersecurity community. With extensive years of experience, he has built expertise in shaping cybersecurity programs, strategies, and budgets. Ski is currently the CISO at Ocrolus. Beyond his current position, he actively gives back through mentorship programs via adplist.org, supporting career development, leadership, and people enablement. Ski also plays an advisory role for multiple SaaS startups, providing executive guidance to founders and investors on cybersecurity strategy. His previous corporate tenure includes 6 impactful years at Freshworks, where he was deputy CISO overseeing security and played a crucial role from early to IPO journey, and another 8 years at TCS as Head of Information Security for the Banking and Financial Services Business Unit. Ski is also involved in collaborative initiatives that empower the cybersecurity community. Ski recently shared his perspectives on emerging cybersecurity trends as a keynote speaker at the OWASP Chennai chapter event. He has been recently honored as one of the top rising leaders in India. Certified as a CISO and holding a long list of security certifications, Ski excels at securing systems and leading high-performing teams. His contributions demonstrate his commitment to building a secure digital future. Ski, it's a privilege to have you here on our session today. I gave the formal introduction, but I'd love to learn from you. How's your journey been so far from the start till now?
The journey has been very challenging, rewarding, and satisfying. Cybersecurity is a passion, and it's a field that I consciously chose, given I had all the other opportunities. So yeah, it's been interesting working with different companies. Overall, I think I'm fortunate enough to have some good experiences, learnings so far. So yeah, super happy.
Okay, let's dive into those. You have worked in organizations of different sizes and advised and mentored startups. In your opinion, how do the stakes change? Whether it's a big company, small company, different geography, different industry, what changes? What remains the same?
I think what changes is the approach on how cybersecurity or controls is being implemented, depending upon the size. It's not purely depending upon the size and the organization. The primary factor is what is the organization's business objective. I think that drives the overall cybersecurity aspect, be it defining a program or control or processes. That's the very first thing which will enable it. Certain things will change depending upon the size and the industry and the geography. Say, for example, depending upon the size of the company, you may have to design your programs within the available resources and budget. When it comes to geography, there are certain geography-specific laws and regulations that you may have to consider. Say, for example, if you are in the California, CCPA applies, and if you are in EU, GDPR is something that you need to take a look. Hey, what are the things that needs to be considered? And again, depending upon the industry that you are, industry-specific controls and regulations come in. If you are in payment, PCI, if you are in healthcare, for example, HIPAA, and if you are in financial services, you have different financial regulations for each and every geography and industry. So I think these are the factors which will decide what will change. But I think the core principle that remains unchanged is protecting data, information, and systems. So that doesn't change. I think the control that we deploy is something that will be directly dependent on what's the business objective, and the additional factors are like geography and industry.
Does it become easier as the company gets bigger to justify the ROI on security investments? How do you think about the ROI because you've worked on budgets? There's always a question of, if I put $1 in, what am I expecting? How do you navigate those discussions?
It's one of the interesting and challenging discussions because it's quite fair that the company is investing and they are looking what is the value that we are creating based on the investments. And when it comes to cybersecurity, when we look at the history, previously or a decade before, it was very challenging to convey what is the return on investment that we are giving. There's nothing that was given in terms of money. Hey, we have implemented tools to prevent incidences. We have avoided these many impacts, and we have got these certifications. But when I look at the recent advancements, now it has become very easier to show return on investment based on the revenue that security is enabling or influencing. It could be directly or indirectly. While other factors are also taken into consideration, hey, we have invested on these tools, avoided this many incidences. Now, I think the industry has evolved in such a way to tie up with a financial number, either in terms of revenue enabled or influenced, or the financial loss that has been avoided. So by implementing all these things. So this is how the ROI is being done. At least this is how I have done to make sure the C-suite or my CFO is kept informed about how the returns are being projected, and hence the budgeting happens.
Ski, one deeper dive into that part. Sometimes we ask for budget so we can pursue certifications, right? Like cybersecurity equals to certifications in many people's minds, but they are actually quite different, right? Certifications has an aspect about compliance. There's security certifications, and then there's skills that you're developing. How do you? They keep getting talked about as very similar, right? But they're not. Compliance certifications are not enough to build trust and assurance and influence customer decisions, or are they? That's one question I have. Then let's just answer that question first before I go into the next part of this.
Yeah, I think security certifications for a cybersecurity professional adds value for sure. But I think that's not the only thing that will help you move forward in that. While these are essentials for you to continuously learn and upkeep, but that's one of the primary factors. This is on cybersecurity certifications for an individual professional. Now, when we go more deep into compliance certifications or security certifications versus cybersecurity, so end of the day, both have equal importance, and they are related, but they are not synonymous. For example, any compliance is simply a set of rules or processes that needs to be adhered. Probably the minimal requirements for any process or control or law or regulation. So that's compliance. Whereas from a security standpoint, it's way broader. We end up, the goal is to protect the information from existing and evolving threats. So compliance alone will not help you build the trust, while it will help us demonstrate, yes, we are meeting the minimal requirements that are needed. But cybersecurity involves a lot more than compliance or certification. It involves continuous monitoring. It requires a proactive approach, while certifications help you as a strategic objective. That's not the end goal. Continuous monitoring is what will help you show longer term value.
So in this case, in a company, what really moves the needle? When you go for compliance certifications, they will require you to have policies, controls, and that's a good start. Then you start to digitize these controls and automate them, because the attacker is on the other hand very frequent, automated at scale. They're also using same technologies to penetrate your systems, right? So your controls and continuously monitoring these controls are extremely important. SOC 2 Type 2 leads towards this kind of thinking. What are your thoughts on what actually moves the needle, and what should the company focus on?
I think, in my opinion, companies should focus on building a security culture and a security mindset, because we have people, process, technology. The very first thing that every organization should focus on the people, where building awareness, fostering a culture, fostering an environment where security is talked about, constant awareness is being created. So first, building the culture. I think culture drives the rest of the process and technology aspects of it. And when it comes to process and technology, yes, depending upon the industry, depending upon the product or services, or depending upon the market, there will be a lot of compliance certification that is required. But for all these things, the base should be a program framework. So every organization should focus on having an information security program, which will help them or enable them to run the overall security initiatives, right from talking to the business teams, talking to the board members to tell, hey, how the program runs, what all it covers, how we are going to run the program. So having a security program framework is one, and having a control framework, because we spoke about ISO, SOC 2, PCI, HIPAA, and whatnot. There are common controls. There are which overlaps between these certifications or standard, and there are controls which are unique to the respective certification. So we cannot keep jumping compliance after compliances. We should have a baseline control framework which will have the bare minimal controls that are required to run your security program, and these controls can be mapped to all the certifications of framework, so that we'll be able to build a control baseline, and we can add compliances towards it, so that we'll end up meeting most of the controls or most of the compliances as we have a stronger control framework. Lastly, having a framework for risk management. This will help the entire company or department heads to understand what is being considered, and it will be like one language across the company, so that it's not like security comes and teaches, hey, these are the controls you need to deploy for so and so. Having a control framework, hey, when we talk about deploying controls, we will be following a specific control framework, say NIST or CAS or whatever that is available in the market. Having this focus will help companies to take a deeper level view, and everybody in the organization will be aligned. Okay, yeah, I don't need someone to come and tell me what control will be deployed. I know the company follows this control framework. I myself can go and take a look at it, and it will be helping to have meaningful conversation between security and other teams. So the focus should be on setting up a program, security program with a framework, having a control baseline, and having a risk management program. All three should be transparently communicated, and yeah, awareness should be created. So these are the high-level areas that a company should start focusing on for a longer-term impact and success.
Thank you very much for this. Just building on these 3 points that you mentioned, what we are seeing is that a lot of initiatives are happening point in time. So it's like once a year, once in 6 months, once a quarter. How much automation do you see in the industry versus what is desired? Moving towards continuous controls monitoring or continuous risk assessment. There's this class of companies that are coming up, right? Which talk about continuous penetration testing, continuous red team, continuous blue team, continuous monitoring, continuous compliance, all of that XYZ. What do you see in the industry now?
I think there is a significant change, and I totally agree that these automations are really required, because it helps bring in a lot of efficiency, reduce manual work, and evidence consolidation. So all these automations are really required, and I see as a positive change for the industry, because back in days where everything is like manual, right from implementing a control, verifying it, monitoring it, gathering evidences, facing external audits. But right now, I think everything is kind of automated, reducing manual work. So I see this is a positive change. And it's been catching up in the industry, but I think I wouldn't say it's like dominated to a greater extent. So there are still a lot of companies who are still not in the automation zone. They are trying to adapt and evolve. But yeah, this is a good sign for the entire cybersecurity industry.
Okay. In your previous role, you're managing security across cloud networks applications. Did you take a point solution approach, or were you looking at unified systematic approach to cybersecurity? What are your thoughts on this?
I think unified approach always helps. This is my personal experience. As I said, by adapting a framework, a program framework or a control framework combined with the risk framework, I think we are setting the baseline and benchmark. So once you have that, irrespective of whether point in time or future, you will keep coming back and the program runs within the framework that you have adopted. So it could be a point in time solution where, hey, there is a customer who asks, hey, I cannot proceed further with you if you don't have this compliance or control, which is a point in time requirement, which is tied to a business objective. Now, as a security personnel or a security department, I think we should validate the business requirements and come up with a priority. Yes, controls can be deployed at any point in time. State-of-the-art controls can be deployed provided we have budget. But what needs to be considered is this the right time, and is this the right approach? We cannot deploy a control just for a point in time and move on. Whenever a control is deployed, we should consider, hey, why am I doing this? What's the value? How am I going to measure the efficiency or the security posture? So there needs to be some metrics for every control that needs to be in place. Otherwise, yeah, a customer has asked or a compliance requirement has come, we deploy the control, take an evidence, show it, and go on. So after 3 months, we don't know what is the status of the control, or the control requirement could have been completely changed, right? So having a unified approach and having a continuous monitoring is definitely needed, and it has helped. And we can be very transparent about it. Hey, this is our control framework. So far, we have deployed 60% of the control that we see. There are 40% of the controls that are yet to be deployed. But when we look at our business requirements and the market and the customer expectation, I think we are meeting the bare minimum. So we can come up with pointers or to support the advantages or the pros and cons on why we need to proceed forward or why staying at the same state is sufficient. So I think these are my viewpoint on taking a systemic approach. By taking this approach, you can also meet your point in time solution. And since you have a program framework, you don't have to worry about it. You go back to your program framework, take a look at the controls, what is being asked, and work with the teams and move on.
Okay, thank you for sharing this. We are in an age now where everyone is talking about AI, right? So we can't have this conversation without talking about AI as well. So what are the best uses of AI that you're seeing from your vantage point?
Totally. So any conversations, be it online or offline, without AI is an outdated conversation. So yeah, I think AI in general has brought a digital revolution, and it has, and we could see its evolution as well. So from my perspective, there are pros and cons in like any aspect of it or any technology side of it. From a advantage standpoint, from a cybersecurity, I see 3 areas. One is on the compliance and GRC side of it, where AI can help in automated GRC processes, enhanced risk assessment. Given the large volume of data that is processed by these AI, we are able to get more depth of information than a manual risk assessment, be it qualitative or quantitative. Because end of the day, we need to have a large volume of data, and it always gives you a greater efficient results. So one good thing is on the GRC side of it. Also on the technical security or product security, we have like AI powered tools, be it vulnerability assessment or penetration testing, be it monitoring tools or SIEM. There is a AI empowered scanning, which involves a lot of correlation given the large volume of data. I think it helps in enhanced prediction with the large amount of data that is there and the history of events that has happened, automated reporting, and yeah, these are some of the enhanced capabilities from the product security standpoint, and also from an overall incident response standpoint. There is an enhanced accuracy, faster detection. Given the complexity of data, I think AI-powered tools are scaling good to understand the data and give outputs than the traditional methods. So these are the good things that I have seen. On the challenging side of it, the risk assessment is a bit tricky. So the traditional risk assessment involves prescribed factors, either quality or quantity, whereas AI risks depend upon privacy concerns, bias, transparency, explainability factors, ethical usage, and stuff. So these are some of the challenges that the industry faced and still facing. But I think, yeah, these are solvable challenges which we need to overcome in the upcoming days. So these are some of my takes on AI, its pros and cons.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. From one of our vantage points, what we are seeing is that AI is being used both on the good side and the adversary side. Have you experienced any adversarial AI in your work so far?
I've not had a direct experience, but yeah, I do watch the news. There are like lot of things that are used for adversarial. So we have a bot which can automatically poison the existing system with malicious data, causing it to provide biased output. And there are also like bots which can cause faster attacks and systems based on the traditional manual way or scripts of those sort. So these are some of the things that I've been watching and I'm aware of, but I've not faced any adversarial attacks through AI so far. So that should.
Okay, it could be a matter of when, not if. So
totally, that's something that always I say to everybody. It's not about the state of the art controls that you have deployed. It's all about how prepared you are to face any challenge. And yeah, all it takes is one small event to cause catastrophic damage.
I think you're hinting towards being resilient. So as opposed to state-of-art controls, being prepared to respond to what comes your way is very important. Now, do you feel constantly worried that you have all these measures in place, you have all these people in place, all this training in place, but it takes maybe just 1, 2, 3 things before like major damage can happen? Is that something that concerns you?
Yes. So this is a old statement, but yeah, so it still holds good. So 99% of the threats or attacks are not because only because of the process or technology controls. It's because of the people who are involved in it. So end of the day, humans are the major threat vectors. It is because of the awareness and education. But when we look at the history, I think yeah, someone would have fall prey, someone would have clicked the link, someone would have not changed the password. So that contributes the major, whether it could be malicious or it's an inadvertent or unintentional accidents as well. So some of the concerns that I look at it in this industry are one is like, as I said, threats that could happen because of humans, which is insider threat as well. So it could be unintentional or malicious. So that's one. We have to constantly have an awareness program, given the evolution and the latest trends, keep everybody updated, what could happen and what they should do and what they should not do. So that's one. And given the entire industry is moving on cloud, we are seeing a lot of cloud adoption, which brings in a lot of supply chain involvement, third party sub processors. And we have, while we are utilizing them, it increases the cybersecurity footprint and due diligence, because you don't have complete control over the supply chain. So we have to make sure how the supply chain security is, how are these vendors and third parties handling these requirements. So one is on the supply chain. And this is a constantly evolving industry. So even as a CISO, I have to keep myself updated. So if I stay off the grid for like 2 or 3 weeks, I can confidently say I'm outdated because something or the other would have been released or some information should be new. So there is a constant need for skill gap. So you cannot stay the same. Now that, yes, I have the skill set, I can do VAPT and pen test. I think that's not enough. You have to keep learning, and the skill gap should be minimized. So these are some of the things that I see as my personal constraints in my career of leading teams and handling cybersecurity programs.
Thanks, Ki. Building on your point about supply chains, a lot of this supply chain attacks are increasing, right? And most companies approach it by securing their dependencies and third-party libraries. They are running scans as one, and there's a major focus on security questionnaires. Is this enough, or is there more that needs to be done?
I think security questionnaires are just a starting point. They are definitely not enough. It will help you understand what is their current state or the controls that they have deployed. So it's a point in time or a starting point. That is alone definitely not enough. It will help you understand more about the control environment and the controls that are deployed by these supply chain firms. There should be a continuous monitoring program. It could be technical monitoring, running scans, or monitoring their digital footprints or the control environment which we are relying on. And it also through getting to know what is their commitment for security in general. So are their security controls aligned with what we are? Does their security policy program commitments meet with us? Or on the other hand, are they open enough to align and adapt to the security policies and programs that we want them to follow? Because end of the day, we are providing services to customers who expect a certain level of controls and compliances and processes. While we are outsourcing or dependent on supply chain, customer expects the same level of controls to be followed. And I think as a company, we also should expect the same, because end of the day, instead of we doing certain work, we are giving it to a third party, which means we are one and the same. So that carries a major importance. So there should be some security audits and certifications that needs to be in play, which should demonstrate continuous commitment and controls in play, periodic due diligences. And we should also have these things agreed on the contract so that it becomes legal as well. So these are some of the things that one should consider for handling supply chain. So this will enable a continuous review and monitoring framework, and subscribing to advisories, or subscribing to, say, for example, if there are any incidences or breaches that these companies are facing, we should have a program and a process to check in, hey, what is the impact? Is it something that we should be worried on, or is the impact outside of the process that we are outsourcing of those sorts? So these are some of the critical pointers that one should look for.
Thank you, Ski. This is very helpful. One point that I am noticing in the industry is compliance automation. It's quite a bit of a game changer here. Is this something which is revolutionary, or is there a security first mindset that we need to prioritize even beyond compliance automation?
I think yes, compliance automation has helped the cybersecurity industry a lot. As I said, it has reduced a lot of manual effort, brought in efficiency, at some point even reduced cost. But as I said, all these compliance automations are something that to demonstrate, hey, we have this minimal set of requirements met. We are doing it in a faster, efficient manner. That doesn't alone enough. That's not enough for what we are supposed to do from a security standpoint. So compliance is always somewhat reactive, because we have a set of controls to meet, and we are implementing it, and we are making sure we continue to comply and meet these controls. But a security first mindset is a little bit proactive. We have to be very vigilant of, hey, what all can happen that is beyond the compliance requirements or the checklist that we have to meet the compliance requirements. So security first will help you be aware of the latest trends and the new technology, and how we can handle all those things. And if that is required for business, what are the controls that we need to have in place? That's the security first mindset. Say, for example, AI is something that has been like having a good amount of positive and challenging impact. If companies want to adopt AI, from a compliance standpoint, there was nothing when AI was brought in place. Only very recently, or after the AI, the compliance started coming into play. There are some regulations coming up. There are some drafts. EU is coming up with an AI Act, and every country is working to say how we can responsibly use AI, which itself is a somewhat reactive approach. But security first mindset, okay, what will help you determine, okay, how we can use what controls that we may have to put in place. At a very basic level, can the data be shared or should the data not be shared? So these are some of the solutioning which will happen when you have a security first mindset.
That's awesome. When we get into building companies, do you see a direct correlation between security spending and growth? How do you advise companies to allocate security budgets?
I think overall, before deciding the budget, I think we should decide what is the level of security that is required given the current state of the company, given the company's business objective. If the company is, say, for example, if the company is not focusing on mid-market and enterprise customers, their initial focus or objective is, okay, let's target SMB. I think there is a different set of framework, there is a different approach and a budget that is required. As the company moves the objectives are achieving one after other, I think the security gets evolved. So budget should be based on the risks that we have in place. How are risks determined? Based on what's the company's objective and the control environment. Look at the risks and see what is required to mitigate the risk. It should be a tool or a process or control, then allocate budget accordingly, because it will automatically help you prioritize your investment, and it will also help you meet the security controls and improve the security posture. So that's one way. And along those lines, make sure we have budgets for multi-layered defenses, which is like make sure we have tools to address the people, process, technology, perimeter security, and internal security, all those things. And one of the things which is not looked often is the cyber insurance. I think there should be some budget allocated for cyber insurance apart from the tools and people and technologies. Last but not least, there should be definitely a budget for upskilling and continuous learning, which is inevitable because there is a constant evolution and trends. As a cybersecurity professional, everybody should learn and keep themselves updated, irrespective of their role or department they are. As long as they are in security, I think there is a constant learning that is required. So I think companies should definitely allocate some budget because of all the certifications and courses that we have. So these are some of the areas where budget allocation should be focused on. So that this is a holistic approach. And when, as a CISO who is responsible for cybersecurity budget, you have a clear visibility on where your budget should be focused.
Ski, you've had a long career of over 2 decades in the cybersecurity industry. How has the role of CISO evolved over time?
I think the role of CISO had a exponential shift because CISO as a role was always considered to be just backseat role, more of a technology enabler. Okay, this role is required to meet the controls and stuff. Over a period of time, as the threat landscape evolved, now CISOs are being considered in the board, in the table as a business enabler, and also security is also being considered as one of the avenues for enabling or influencing revenue. That's in simple terms. So more than just a gatekeeper or a control implementer, now I think there is a different profile, business enabler, and that's the evolution or shift that I see. Right from safeguarding and just meeting the controls, now I think CISOs have a direct or indirect influence on the overall company's growth and revenue. They are contributing to the overall growth across all departments. So that's, in short, I see as the evolution personally.
Thanks for sharing. And what keeps you up at night? What do you find? There's a lot of stuff that's going on out there. What is it that makes you worried?
On a lighter note, yeah. So working on different time zones definitely keeps me up all night. So yeah, given that I'll have to work with multiple geography, so that's one. But I think on the concerns, I think I have spoke about this a little bit. So though you have state-of-the-art controls deployed, I think it's all about how prepared you are and how updated you are. That's my only concern. You have to keep practicing and testing it.
Perfect. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're down to the final question. It's been a very interesting conversation with you over the past hour or so. One final question that I have is, what do you find most rewarding about the work that you're doing? How do you keep yourself updated? It's a three-part question. I've asked two parts, and the final part here is, what is it that excites you about the future of the industry?
Okay. So I think working in cybersecurity itself is a rewarding journey because you have to stay ahead of everybody. Like the bad actors are always 1x or 2x ahead of us. So we have to be at least match them when it comes to the company who is dependent on us. So protecting the data and the system and getting to know that we are in a way responsible for keeping the company secure and making the company meet their business objective, right? It's not about the product, it's not about the feature, it's not about the capability. Businesses involve a large amount of data, and the data is put into products and services and whatnot. And when we look at, hey, we are the ones who are safeguarding or driving or strategizing, I think that's a simple reward that you get outside the monetary and other benefits. I think what excites the future is obviously AI and ML, and the recognition and the importance given for cybersecurity is increasing when I look at the last 10 to 15 years. There is a greater importance and recognition given to cybersecurity or security in general and to security professional. I think that's one of the exciting factors for me. And what was the other part that I missed?
How do you keep yourself fresh, current?
Yeah, so I think continuous education. It need not be like trainings and certification. So one is through networking, attending a lot of conferences, browsing through appropriate social media content and pages to make sure what is happening in the industry, subscribing to updates and advisory, and being the first one to get hands-on, put your hands dirty, try and see what is happening. I think these are some of the things that I do to keep myself updated, and that helps me talk the language of the technical terms when I talk to engineering, and also helps me talk the business language when I talk to C-level leaders.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Ki. We know that you're quite a name in the community, so thank you very much for joining us and giving us your thoughts and insights today.
Yeah, I had a good time talking to you, Pramodh. It's been like a good discussion. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you.